All right, Shalom. See if I can figure out how to move that. I still don't know how to move that. All right, Shalom. Zion thy Eloha reigneth. All right. Isaiah 52. Zion thy Eloha reigneth. Glad to be here today. Yeah, I've been talking about how I haven't been studying as much as I was, and I forget that I've been back to work. Um, so, man, that world out there really does a number on me sometimes, man. Messes up my priorities. Um, so I think when you're living out there in society, it's all the more difficult to stick to this, to stick to as if you can live one and the other. But I'm out there making my living, doing what I got to do for my family, and it's just challenging. Even though I got the easiest job in the world, I got one hell of an easy job. But yeah, I've been studying Isaiah, and there it is. Excuse me. Excuse me. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. I've heard it said, man, preaching the Most High is a good thing, man. Making these videos is a good thing. Studying this stuff is a good thing. I was talking to a friend recently, a fellow scholar, knows a lot more than I do, Lexwell. I was gonna try to bullshit like I wasn't gonna say what. Hey man, I don't be on here talking shit about this dude and that dude. No. I'm doing my own thing, man. But I'm gonna give respect where respect's due, man. That's my teacher, man. You know what I mean? I seen what he do, and it made me wanna. You know what? It made me want to prove him wrong. Honestly, the Most High been blessing me lately with much insight into my own character, my own mind, and my own family. And me and my family, we are arguers. I mean, ask my wife. Me and my mom sit to this day and do nothing but argue. We can't get right. And, I feel like when my back's against the wall, I fight harder than when it's not. And I think what the Most High wants me to do is study and live. Study and live. The ways of the Ishi are right. The just shall live in them, and the transgressor shall fall in them. So I'm gonna keep on studying. And anyway, what we were talking about with this friend and with Lex is, he's talking about Asia and this and that and this and that and this, and I'm talking about what I've been studying, and it just popped into my head, man. The reason the Most High wants us to study and know what it feels like to know something is that we can just get a glimpse or just imagine what it is to know everything like him. I can't imagine he knows everything that ever happened, everything that ever will happen, the hearts of men. Can you imagine? There's not a thing he doesn't know. And so if you don't know shit, how do you even know or have any kind of inkling what that's like? It's like you're trying to know your God. It's like I'm trying to know my God by studying his word. And then I was introduced to studying history because that's also a pursuit of the truth, of the Most High's truth. Okay, so with the blessing of the Creator, I trust that I'm publishing salvation, and I know that I'm saying to y'all that your aloha reigneth. Okay, so I've been having this book, found it a while ago, and I found it. It's a long book. It's like 1,000 pages or more, and I found it with information about the white tribes in Africa. If you go back to my older video, I think it's I suck at titles. It's all about there's a couple different videos. It's about the second Barbaria, which is down in the Horn of Africa on the east side. It's about the tribe called the Jagas that were non-melanated man-eaters, cannibals. And, just over time, I studied different aspects of the first time I heard that some whites come from Africa. I was like, yeah, come on, no way. Excuse me. So that was one of the things I had to study, and it's true. And I had this book for the longest time, but recently, Lex taught in one of his videos, and I go there to learn about history and the world and all kind of wonderful things. I suppose I could spend my time looking at a computer tutorial on YouTube and figuring out how to use the computer. But I learned that too over there. So he was using a Control+F, right, as a search instrument through the document, which was immensely helpful. And as I said, this is a 1,000-page book. So, and I just realized I didn't enlarge that. I hope y'all could see that. I'm sure y'all know what Isaiah 52 says. There it is. 52 and 7. Okay, let's go ahead and enlarge this so everybody can see it. It's not going to enlarge. Why isn't that enlarging? Hang on, I messed something up. Okay, I'm having a problem getting this to blow up. But anyway, the title of this is Africa being an accurate description of the regions of Egypt, Barbary, Libya, and Bildergurid, the land of the Negroes, Guinea, Ethiopia, and the Abyssines, with all the adjacent islands, either in the Mediterranean, Atlantic, Southern, or Oriental Sea, belonging thereunto, with the several denominations of their coasts, harbor, creeks, rivers, lakes, cities, towns, castles, and villages, their customs, modes, manners, language, religion, and inexhaustible treasures, with their governments and policy, variety of trade and barter, and also of their wonderful plants, beasts, birds, and serpents. Collected and translated from most authentic authors and augmented with later observations, illustrated with notes and adorned with peculiar maps and proper sculptures by John Ogilby, Esquire, Master of His Majesty's Revels in the Kingdom of Ireland. London, printed by Tho Johnson for the author. And there's the date. I think that's the date, right? I don't know what date that is. We could look up John Ogilby, but you know that he's most likely melanated. So this book has some interesting things to say about whites from Africa. So we're going to go there, Control F. Thank you, Lex. And, like I said, 1,000 pages, so there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm going to try to move it through and see what we can see, right? That's nothing. A lot of the times it's talking about them, the whites, as the trading partners to the Africans, which, you know, maybe, may not be. I can't speak to that, but it does make a distinction also as to the whites that are living there. Okay. Um, and we'll start right here. Some divide the Africans into black and white, but a curious eye may easily observe a great difference in the colors of those people as not being under the same climate, such as a habit about the Guinea, the Negro land, and between. This is another one. Okay, this is nothing. This is just saying that. Okay, we keep going. I'm gonna try to weed out the not important ones. See how I do. Um, okay. There are two diverse sorts of people, generally divided into Arabians and Aborigines, subdivided again into whites and blacks, of which two kinds of so dispersed over Africa. It would be worth our pains to set down their places of abode. The white Africans are by Leo Johannes divided into 5 tribes: the Zanagians, the Musmudans, the Zenitans, the Haor-Anarians, and the Gumer-Anarians, which are again subdivided into 600 families. As their historian Ibnu Rachu, be interesting to see who that is, by Mermal named Ibni al-Raqiq, hath registered. Then the same Marmal calls the first two Zingans and Mahmudans. In the other three, agreeing with Leo, who says that the Mahmudans dwell east and by south from the mountain of the Atlas, inhabiting all the plains and commanding the 4 provinces of Hia, Sus, Gazul, and Morocco. The Gomerians possess the mountains of Mauritania toward the Midland Sea and the strands of Aref beginning from the Straits of Gibraltar and extending east towards the borders of the kingdom of Tremesen. These two people live apart, whereas the other 3 lived mixed, one among another, but may easily be distinguished by the air of their faces and mien of their bodies, as the natives from strangers being a continual hostility among themselves. The Zenitans and Hauarians inhabit the fields of Tbilisi, but the Zenitans in the Libyan wilderness, whereby it appears that in former times they all had dwellings in the plains, each favoring his own party and employing themselves to work necessary for humane subsistence. The governors are pastors or keepers of the cattle, but the citizens apply themselves to trading. The mechanics also follow husbandry. Some writers imagine that the kings of Timbuktu, Meli, Agadez spring from these Sinhagians. Okay. The first planters of the eastern desert of Africa are now termed African Berbers, descended from the Sabaeans. I might have a video coming with this because when I read this stuff, I tied it into something else I studied a while ago, but I forgot how I connected the two. And I haven't been able to find it. But I got another video if I can ever find the connection again. The Sabaeans of Arabia Felix, who came thither with their king Melech Ifriqui. It's an interesting search too. Mentioned before, but those of Tangia, Numidia, and Libya are called Berbers Xylohes. When these people fell at variance, the conqueror, remaining master of the field and cattle, forced the vanquished to secure themselves in the mountains or more populous cities, who intermixing with the other Africans came at last as they to dwell in houses and to be equally subject with them. Therefore, those which live in tents, as the Arabians, are counted more noble because they more mighty and richer in cattle, yet both preserve their pedigree and descent, having their habitations in the strongest places of Barbary, Numidia, and Libya. All right, I'm gonna try to hold this together. It's hard to remember what's what. But okay, so the Mahmudans hold four provinces of Morocco in common with the Zenitans, with them residing in the fields of Temisi, the utmost westerly part thereof. These are now mean people called the Zavis, both other them than part of the great Atlas bordering on the kingdom. Very valiant, always at war with the Turk. Another of them dwell in the countries of Constantine and Tunis, some in the fields like the Arabs, and a few dispersed in houses and towns. The Hawaiians are mixed with the Zenitans. Zenitans reside in the mountains. All right, anyway, I was just going through all this just to show that they were Mahometans. Yeah, buddy. They have in Cairo bazaars, the chiefest of which are the rows of the mercers and druggists. They are also stately houses, which they call O'Shells, where they sell blackamoors, wherein are divisions to keep whites to sell, where men will yield from 20 to 60 pieces of eight, and women, especially whites, 500 plasters, yea, 1,000 according to their beauty. All right, what the hell? The new Libya hath for north confines the desert of Numidia or Bildegard, with a part of their Nun, eastward Egypt and the city Elo Cat, and the kingdom of Geoga, conterminant to the south Negro land, the west washed with the Atlantic Ocean, along whose coast it reacheth from the part of Nun which belongeth to Bildegard or Numidia, to the river of Zeniga or Niger, which divides the whites and the blacks. All right. The main land coasting this bay is dry and barren, but about 5 miles there are some shrub and healthy ground, from whence those of Arguin fetch their fuel. Formerly there dwelt among this isle some Moors called Sebek Moors. I had to look that one up. And it says Hassaniya Moorish language. The Moors speak Hassaniya Arabic, a dialect that draws most of its grammar from Arabic and uses vocabulary of both Arabic and Arabized Amazigh. The Amazigh are the Berbers. All right. Who live by fishing and some trade, giving the fifth part of their grain to the cattle. Also, the French fishermen, yearly in December, January, and February, using large nets, above 80 fathom long, fish up and down this bay for grampos, which they cut up at land and dry in the sun, making train oil of them. And also, hereabouts, the Portugals drive a notable trade with the wild Arabs and the whites, bartering their woolen and linen cloth, silver, coarse tapestry, but most of all corn for blacks, gold, and ostrich plumes. They bring thither also horses, which yield them a dozen or 15 slaves. Cape Laho, and it says here that they abominate drunkenness. That might be what tied me into what I was talking about before. I did a lot of study on the Kenites a while ago. but I'm gonna find the connection anyhow. Cape Lanao yields many of these clothes, with the inhabitants barter for salt, which they, according to their own report, send abroad by slaves or otherwise, who with it travel so far into the country till they come to white people. They ride on mules and asses and use lances for arms, but they are not altogether white as the Europeans. By this description, we cannot but imagine these mongrel whites they mention must without peradventure be Moors of Barbary. There's it also. Oh shit, what the fuck did I just do? What? What the fuck just happened? Alright, I don't think it's an accident that it messed up there because I was just getting to the best part of this. Let me see there. There sit also certain white men by the king, with skins on their heads, and indeed at distance seem like our Europeans, having not only gray eyes but red or yellow hair. Yet coming nearer, the discovery grows easy, for they have not a lively color, but white like the skin of a dead corpse, and their eyes, as it were, fixed in their heads, like people that lie a dying. The sight they have is but weak and dim, turning the eye like such as look asquaint. That's an interesting word. But at night they see strongly, especially by moonshine. Some are of opinion that these white Moors ought to be accounted fairies, and to have sprung from a great bellied black with child, upon seeing a white. As we read, that a white woman being pregnant, upon the seeing a picture of a black Moor, brought forth a black child. However, this seems worthy remark, if true, as reported, that these whites of either sex are incapable of coition. Interesting. But Isaac Vossius, in his book of the original Nile and other rivers, saith, though this sort of men be generated of black parents, yet it is probable that in the midland countries of Guinea people may be found of the like white color, and in my judgment, continues he, as it may be concluded, that they are a kind of lepers, and the difference of color proceeds from a sickness common among the Moors, especially those that dwell in dry, hot places, for if they did not continually anoint the skin, that would all perhaps be afflicted with the same evil. For this cause there passeth no day among them without anointing, for which they use not only oil, but fat and ointments, wherewith they smear all their bodies over, and by that means not only prevent the parching of the skin, but make of it a shining black, the chiefest beauty with them. The Portuguese call these white Moors albinos. And I was going to put this in a video that I wanted to do about the Portuguese, but it's strange to see that al again there. And if you look it up, it's a Portuguese word, albinos. Look up the etymology of albino. It's a Portuguese word. It's interesting, right? It's word remarkable. And attempted to take some of them prisoners in the wars and carry them over to Brazil. Oh, wait a minute. We're gonna have to do this whole sentence. Okay. The Portuguese call these white Moors albinos, and attempted to take some of them prisoners in the wars and carry them over to Brazil to work, for they are very strong, but so addicted to idleness that they had rather die than undertake any toilsome labor. I don't know about die, but I don't particularly. Anyway, the like sort of men have been found by the Netherlanders and Portuguese not only in Africa but also in East Asia, in the island of Borneo. and in New Guinea, called the country of Papos, thus far Vossius. Now, I do want to show this because they're kind of undermining their credibility. Um, when I find lies about being sprung by certain, I like to show the lie too, just so that you see that um, the chiefest trade of the Portuguese and other whites consists of slave. And there's the lie, the chiefest trade of Portuguese and other whites. So they're called, and it's a few other places in the book they're calling the Portuguese whites, and we know that they're not. So the chiefest trade of Portuguese and other whites consists in slaves carried from thence by shipping to several places in the West Indies, as to the islands of Porto Rico, Rio Plata, Santo Domingo, Havana, Cartagena, and to the mainland, especially to Brazil and other places, to labor in the engines and sugar mills. What's the engine? I have no idea. They got some kind of engines over here? That sounds pretty interesting. And to dig and work in the mines, which toil these Angolan blacks and no whites can undergo, so that the Portuguese and Spaniards must thank the labor of slaves for most of their riches, which they possess in the Indies. It is certain the Spaniard used heretofore to send over upon his own account to the West Indies every year about 15,000 slaves for those works, and this 'tis judged that the Portuguese to this day send no fewer. So wouldn't that be a bitch, man? If they really had every nation of the world here to mix with the natives to make it even more confusing. It seems that they did send some from Africa, some black Africans here, and white as slaves. The thing that I'm finding interesting too is that this book is finally mentioning the Dutch, the Netherlanders, as they're called, um, which played a large part in which were of course melanated first of all, but played a large part in the exploration, so-called exploration, colonization, and rape of the world. So it's interesting to see them named here, and this is going to go back to the beginning, the country of Ajan or Axum. Okay, like it was talking in the beginning about the Sabaeans. That's Ethiopia, Ethiopia. And like I said, if you go to my video about I suck at titles, it says about how that area was originally inhabited by whites. It was actually called Barbarian. So the country of Ajan or Axum, as the Arabians call it, according to the Testimony of Marmal or Habaxa or Habex, some take for the ancient Troglodytica, extending and a troglodyte is a caveman, extending along the shore of the Arabian and Aval Itian Gulf to the mountain Eliphas Phelos. This country hath for borders in the south the great arm of the river Quil Manzi, and the last described kingdoms in the north Abyssinia, or Prester John's country, and the straits of Mecca, in the west the mountains out of which the river shoots, and on the same river with part of the Abyssinia in the east, the ocean. Is concluded within its compass from south to north the Republic of Brava, the kingdoms of Madagascar, Adia, and Adel, some other more unknown places. This country affords plenty of all necessities for the preservation of a man's life, but most famous for a breed of good horses. And now I remember in my study they were major exporters of marijuana. Marijuana was They were slanging. From the river Quilmanzi, they extract gold. The people living at the seashore are most of them whites, but those in the country coal black, with whom the Bedouins, a white people, co-mixing, produce mulatto children, neither perfectly white nor absolutely black. All right, this was another part that stuck out. I'm glad that we got back to this part. Excuse me. Been messed up, man. Drinking my mullein tea. Been all kind of stuffed up, right? Okay, so we're gonna start here. This territory comprehends two sorts of people, vis-a-vis whites and blacks. The first subdivided into three clans named Rohandrians, Anakandrians, and Anzatsi. Now, of course, Anak, I'm sure you can recognize, is talking about the Anakim, no? Giants. In a search of these Rohandrians is very interesting. We're going to go ahead and do that. Rohandrians. And the images are more interesting than anything. It seems that the Rohandrians ruled in Madagascar. And that in Madagascar, it looks to me as if whites and blacks were living together. Cosmopolitan society, perhaps? I don't know. It seems this way all through Africa. There was whites there was blacks there. Makes perfect sense to me. As it said already, some of them were albinos. Um, some of them in Madagascar would have been the French at some point because the French had a colony there in Madagascar. Got to drink a lot of water when you're drinking the mullein tea and shit. Really, are these giants? I tried to look up this guy, Antonio Criminal, the first Jesuit martyr. You should be able to find him, no? If he's really the first Jesuit martyr, but I couldn't find him. He's murdered in India. See, I was talking before about how these people are in India as well. Those are giants, no? Look at how big this dude is. So there's some whites in India. The Rohandrians and the Anakandrians. Man, those have got to be the Anakim, the Anak, right? The three brothers. I could get into a study just on that alone. It's a picture we've seen before in Africa. Oh, shit, I did not fucking do that. Oh, okay. Actually, that was in another video too, right? The, what was his name? Pigfetta was one of the artists that rendered these pictures, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. It's in a past video, though. Excuse me. Rohandrian. Again, Madagascar. Madagascar again. And one of these, there's a whole list of really interesting. It's this one that says index. There's a whole list of really interesting artwork. I don't have time to get into it now. But anyhow, okay, so named Rohandrians. These are, of course, again, the white tribes. The first, meaning the whites, subdivided into three clans named Rohandrians, Anakandrians, and Anzatsi. The last distinguished themselves into four tribes, that is, Voaderziri, Lohavidis, Antsi, and Andives. The whites, which have come hither within these last 150 years, named themselves Zafar Ahimenini, from the mother of Mahomet, called Himeniya. or as others, the stock of Ramini, whom they account their predecessors, or from Raminia, wife of Rahard, father of Rahari and Raf. I have no idea who those people are. Um, the Rohandrians are of those which they choose their king, whom they call Emma. Okay, so someone's choosing their king out of the Rohandrians, whom they call Ampiandrian or Dian Bahouch, the whole number of them being the chief nobility and reverenced as princes. The Anacandrians are extracted from the nobles but illegitimate or else sprung from a Rohandrian man and woman, either the blacks, the Anacreans, or the Anatsi. Those they entitle Ananampaka, that is, people of the sand of Mecca, from whence they say they are come with the Rohandrians. These Anacandrians have a reddish skin and wear long hair curled like the Rohandrians. Both these have the privilege to slaughter any cattle. The Anatsi, being the meanest, have their extract from the bastards of Anacandrians, or else from the race of the seamen. Philistines, sea people. No, Phoenician, sorry, which the Zaframini or the predecessors Dayan Robuk or Ravadati brought into this country. They are also red of skin with curled hair, but may not kill any creatures but hens. These are all fishers. Okay, yeah, this is interesting still. These people have neither religion nor temples, but they use a custom of sacrificing some beasts when they are sick or when they plan or gather ignomes and rice, or circumcise their children, begin a war, enter in to build a new house, or bury their relations. The first fruits of beasts they offer first to the devil, and then to God, naming the devil first, Diabolis Aminen Habari, as if they would say, Lord Devil with God. This superstition they have inherited from their forefathers that were Mahumetans, Mahomet, and blindly continued. All right, so yeah, I'm not. I guess I kind of cop out by always saying I'm not sure what all this says. What I believe it to say, and what I've always tried to make my message in my videos and my research, is that it's not the way they say that. They say, "Oh, the whites, you guys are from over here, and the blacks, you guys are from over here." No, whites and blacks have been coming from the same places, and they might be warm, but they might be living together as well. So, I just don't see that much of a difference between us. Now, of course, when we talk about the Israelites, now that's a different story because the Most High has made a distinction with the Israelites. I always said, man, if the book was talking about my people, then it would be different. But the Most High talking about Israel, and so that's who we have to set apart. That's who we have to follow. That's who we have to adopt as teachers and priests. So I'm going to say shalom and thanks for watching.